All right. And it says we are live. There we go. All right. Good evening, everyone. I will try to watch comments if we have any come in, but I'm not guaranteed. So if you have a question in the course of the evening, text me because I have my phone right here, and I will hear a text faster than I'll hear comments in the comment section. Let's begin with prayer. Lord God, we give you thanks for gathering us together tonight to study your word. We ask you, Lord, that you be present among us, that you would open our hearts and our minds so that we might hear you speak to us. This we ask in your holy name. Amen. All right, we are on Micah 6. And, there's Mary.
Yeah.
We are Micah
I
6.
thought you would be coming.
Make all my little
Stop, so I'm like, and I was aggravating at times to get it. Well, we probably went through the drive-in, huh?
Give Mary just a second here to grab a Bible.
Oh, I could grab one there too, huh? I grab one.
You could.
Couldn't
The secret Steve stash.
Yeah.
Okay, Micah 6.
I didn't bring my own because I thought if it's raining, I don't want to juggle my Bible
Right.
and purse and everything
Right.
when I go out.
Okay.
So heavy.
Micah says, hear that what the Lord says. Arise, plead your case before the mountains, and let the hills hear your voice. Hear you mountains, the indictment of the Lord, and your enduring foundations of the earth. For the Lord has an indictment against his people, and he will contend with Israel. This is courtroom language here. The word that they're using there for indictment is the Hebrew word that would be used in a court. It's reeve. It's a word that would be used in a court of law, or whatever they had that was like a court of law. Here, Micah is turning his vision away from the future that he talked about in 4 and 5, and directed the people to hear what God would say to them. Now he's saying, plead your case before the mountains because you're in court. The Lord is putting Israel on trial. Not anything fun to hear. And of course, always remembering that all of this is written to us as well. That God says the same thing to his people anytime they are wandering from his word. So his people being all the people of the earth. So whatever people are wandering from his word, he is saying the same thing. Plead your case here. Verse 3, O my people, what have I done to you? How have I wearied you? Answer me. Yahweh here is wondering what led his people to believe that they could treat him like this. It is still astonishing the way human beings treat God. And I mean, a lot of people treat him like he's a mythical creature, sort of like a unicorn, which always makes me wonder. I just don't see how you can look at the world and not believe that there is a creator and a higher power. I mean, I understand if you got the wrong one,
Yeah.
but what really flabbergasts me is people who don't believe in anything. And I wonder if it's true. Do they not believe in anything, or are they just afraid to say? Yeah.
I don't know. People who call themselves atheists,
Mhm.
I don't know. Do they really believe that they're atheists, or do they just say they're atheists?
I don't know.
I don't know.
I mean, there are some people who I think say they are atheists because it gets them off the hook.
Yeah.
Then they don't have any religious obligation. Okay, because then I can live my life however I want. I can do whatever I want, and I don't have to. I don't have to deal with people telling me I'm doing the wrong thing or I'm immoral or whatever. So I think some people are just go that route. But there are obviously people like what's his name, Hawking, Stephen Hawking, who is a confirmed atheist. I mean, he argues it all the time, atheism. And I'm just thinking, Here you got the scientist who has to agree and acknowledge that there is so much that we don't understand about how the world is put together, how it runs, how it happened, and yet he will refuse to believe that there is any higher power than himself, that he is the higher power. You know,
Someone else.
yeah, it's phenomenal. But the thing, and that amazes me on the one hand. On the other hand, though, it also amazes me the people who recognize God, who acknowledge God, and then treat him as though he doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that is a leap I can't make either.
I think there are more people like that than being an atheist.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I suppose I understand to some extent some religions where that's true. If you're a Muslim and it's a very tit for tat kind of arrangement, you do your part, I do my part. Well, if you've satisfied all your obligations, then that's all you really have to do. You've bowed east, you've done your prayers 5 times, you've made your pilgrimage, you've given alms to the poor, and you've done your job. And if you've done your job, you've done your job. None of us go to our employers and thank them profusely for giving us our paycheck. We've earned it. We did our job and we earned that paycheck. And so that's how I guess a Muslim would look at it more than a Christian, who should see it as pure gift, that they have not earned anything, but that it was all handed to them just as a free gift. And so it becomes really problematic to say, if you confess to be a Christian, and regardless of what type of Christian you are, at some level you believe in grace. All Christians at some level believe in grace. I mean, there's some that believe that it's all grace, like Lutherans. Some, like Roman Catholics, that believe that the big stuff is grace, and you only have to do a little bit. There's all variations outside there too. But if you believe in any amount of grace, how do you ignore God? And just treat him, God says, how have I wearied you? Oh, my people, what have I done to you? And then he goes through verses 4 and 5 saying, okay, look, this is what I did. For I brought you up from the land of Egypt and redeemed you from the house of slavery. And I sent before you Moses, Aaron, and Miriam. Oh, my people, remember what Balak, king of Moab, devised, and what Balaam, the son of Beor, answered him, and what happened from Shittim to Gilgal, that you may know the righteous acts of the Lord. So let's look at that. What's he talking about there? He lists 4 things that he's done for us. Okay, what's the first thing?
Out of Egypt.
Yep, brought him out of Egypt. Second thing.
Does slavery in Egypt go the same way?
Nope.
No.
Yep. Well, it could. Yeah, you could put it together. What else though?
Slaves in Egypt.
Yeah, I would.
Moses, he gave
Yeah, and then
Moses
the
to
leaders,
lead
the
people.
excellent leaders.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I don't know what happened in these other places.
right.
Yeah.
We'll get to that.
Okay.
He guarded them from harm. Is what he did.
Okay.
And then finally, what did he do? Took them to the promised land, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Took them to the promised land. So Balak, king of Moab, and Balaam. If you want to read the whole story, go to Numbers 22 through 24 is where the whole story is. But basically, Balak hired Balaam to curse Israel. And if you remember the story of Balaam with his donkey, and the donkey kept stopping and throwing him off on his way. You don't remember that story? Oh, that's a great story. That's a great story in Numbers. Let's look at that. Well, that's a good.
I don't remember that.
If you guys have never looked at that one, let's look at that. Numbers 22.
Numbers 22.
Yeah. That's a great story.
I really didn't study Numbers.
Yeah, Numbers has some good stuff in it. People read over Numbers because it looks like it's going to be really dry. But hidden amongst the numbers, all the numbering of the tribes, there's some really great stories.
Oh, here's Balaam's donkey and the angel.
Yeah.
Is that the one?
Balak summons Balaam. Yeah, Numbers 22.
Okay.
Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers.
Numbers, yeah. Deuteronomy, Joshua, Judges.
Yeah, fourth book of the Bible.
Then we come to Numbers. Okay.
Numbers 22.
22. 22, 22?
No, 22 through 24, 2 chapters.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, 22. Then the people of Israel set out and camped in the plains of Moab beyond the Jordan at Jericho. And Balak, the son of Zippor, saw all that Israel had done to the Amorites. And Moab was in great dread of the people because they were many. Moab was overcome with fear of the people of Israel. And Moab said to the elders of Midian, "This horde will now lick up all that is around us, as the ox licks up the grass of the field." So Balak, the son of Zippor, who was king of Moab at that time, sent messengers to Balaam, son of Beor, at Pethor, which is near the river in the land of the people of Ammah, to call him, saying, "Behold, a people has come out of Egypt. They cover the face of the earth, and they are dwelling opposite me. Come now, curse this people for me, since they are too mighty for me. Perhaps I shall be able to defeat them and drive them from the land, for I know that he whom you bless is blessed, and he whom you curse is cursed." So the elders of Moab and the elders of Midian departed with the fees for divination in their hand, and they came to Balaam and gave him Balak's message. And he said to them, "Lodge here tonight, and I will bring back word to you as the Lord speaks to me." So the princes of Moab stayed with Balaam. And God came to Balaam and said, "Who are these men with you?" And Balaam said to God, "Balak, the son of Zippor, king of Moab, has sent to me, saying, Behold, a people has come out of Egypt, and it covers the face of the earth. Now come curse them for me. Perhaps I shall be able to fight against them and drive them out." God said to Balaam, "You shall not go with them. You shall not curse the people, for they are blessed." So Balaam rose in the morning and said to the princes of Balak, "Go to your own land, for the Lord has refused to let me go with you." So the princes of Moab rose and went to Balak and said, "Balaam refuses to come with us." Once again, Balak sent princes, more in number and more honorable than these, and they came to Balaam and said to him, "Thus says Balak, son of Zippor, let nothing hinder you from coming to me, for I will surely do to you great honor, and whatever you say to me I will do. Come, curse this people for me." But Balaam answered and said to the servants of Balak, "Though Balak were to give me his house full of silver and gold, I could not go beyond the command of the Lord my God to do less or more. So you too, please stay here tonight, that I may know that what more the Lord will say to me." And God came to Balaam at night and said to him, "If the men have come to call you, rise, go with them, but only do what I tell you." So Balaam rose in the morning and saddled his donkey and went with the princes of Moab. But God's anger was kindled because he went, and the angel of the Lord took his stand in the way as his adversary. Now he was riding on the donkey, and his 2 servants were with him, and the donkey saw the angel of the Lord standing in the road with a drawn sword in his hand, and the donkey turned aside out of the road and went out into the field. And Balaam struck the donkey to turn her into the road. Then the angel of the Lord stood in a narrow path between the vineyards with the wall on either side. And when the donkey saw the angel of the Lord, she pushed against the wall and pressed Balaam's foot against the wall. So he struck her again. Then the angel of the Lord went ahead and stood in a narrow place where there was no way to turn, either to the right or to the left. When the donkey saw the angel of the Lord, she lay down under Balaam. And Balaam's anger was kindled, and he struck the donkey with his staff. Then the Lord opened the mouth of the donkey and said to Balaam, "What have I done to you, that you have struck me these 3 times?" And Balaam said to the donkey, "Because you have made a fool of me. I wish I had a sword in my hand, for then I'd kill you." And the donkey said to Balaam, I am not your donkey on which you have ridden all your life long to this day. Is it my habit to treat you this way? And he said, no. Then the Lord opened the eyes of Balaam, and he saw the angel of the Lord standing in the way with his drawn sword in his hand. And he bowed down and fell on his face. And the angel of the Lord said to him, why have you struck your donkey these 3 times? Behold, I have come out to oppose you, because your way is perverse before me. The donkey saw me and turned aside before me these 3 times. If she had not turned aside from me, surely just now I would have killed you and let her live. Then Balaam said to the angel of the Lord, I have sinned, for I did not know that you stood in the road against me. Now, therefore, if it is evil in your sight, I will turn back. And the angel of the Lord said to Balaam, go with the men, but speak only the word I tell you. So Balaam went on with the princes of Balak. When Balak heard that Balaam had come, he went out to meet him at the city of Moab, and on the border formed by Arnon at the extremity of the border. And Balak said to Balaam, did I not send to you to call you? Why did you not come to me? Am I not able to honor you? Balaam said to Balak, behold, I have come to you. Have I now any power of my own to speak anything? The word that God puts in my mouth, that must I speak. Then Balaam went with Balak, and they came to Kiriath Huzoth. And Balak sacrificed oxen and sheep, and sent for Balaam and for the princes who were with him. And in the morning Balak took Balaam and brought him to Bamoth Baal, and from there he saw a fraction of the people. And Balaam said to Balak, build for me here 7 altars, and prepare for me 7 bulls and 7 rams. Balak did as Balaam had said, and Balak and Balaam offered on each altar a bull and a ram. And Balaam said to Balak, stand beside your burnt offering, and I will go. Perhaps the Lord will come to meet me, and whatever he shows me, I'll tell you. And he went to a bare height, and God met Balaam. And Balaam said to him, I have arranged the 7 altars, and I have offered on each altar a bull and a ram. And the Lord put a word in Balaam's mouth, and said, return to Balak, and thus you shall speak. And he returned to him, and behold, he and all the princes of Moab were standing beside his burnt offerings. And Balaam took up his discourse and said, from Aram Balak has brought me, and the king of Moab, from the eastern mountains. Come, curse Jacob for me, and come, denounce Israel. How can I curse whom God has not cursed? How can I denounce whom the Lord has not denounced? For from the top of the crags I see him, from the hills I behold him. Behold, a people dwelling alone and not counting itself among the nations. Who can count the dust of Jacob, or number the 4th part of Israel? Let me die the death of the upright, and let my end be like his. And Balak said to Balaam, what have you done to me? I took you to curse my enemies, and behold, you have done nothing but bless them. And he answered and said, must I not take care to speak what the Lord puts in my mouth? And it goes on from there. So the great line from this story, my favorite joke about this story, is the congregation didn't like what the pastor was preaching one Sunday. And the pastor said to them, look, if the Lord can speak out of Balaam's ass, he can speak out of me.
I don't think I ever knew this story. The donkey is just
Yeah.
I vaguely remember about the donkey.
Yeah, well, the great thing of it, of course, in the King James, it's not donkey, it's ass. So
yeah,
Balaam's ass is,
actually,
yeah, as kids, we thought that was the best thing in the world, to read this story about Balaam's ass. Yeah, and your mom couldn't get mad at you for saying it because it was right there in the Bible. So that's the great story of Balaam, is that this king wants him to curse God's people, and God goes through all of these machinations to make sure that his people aren't cursed. That they have a free entry and don't have a problem. And now that and here in Micah 6, God is saying, he's talking to these people, and they know all this. This isn't new information for them. They lived this history that God's telling them, I brought you out of slavery, 400 years in slavery. I brought you out of slavery, and yet this is how you act. Verse 6. This is probably one of the most famous parts of Micah, verses 6 and 7. With what shall I come before the Lord and bow myself before God on high? Shall I come before him with burnt offerings, with calves a year old? Will the Lord be pleased with thousands of rams, with 10,000 of rivers of oil? Shall I give my firstborn for my transgression, the fruit of my body for the sin of my soul? Okay, so what's the point there? What do you notice about those suggestions that they're saying there? It starts with what?
Burnt offering.
Well, yeah, bow before God.
Oh, bow before
Yep.
God.
Then burnt offerings.
Burnt offering.
Then what?
Then cows and
Thousands of rams, and then what?
Rivers of oil.
10,000 rivers of oil, and then what?
Increases all the time.
Right.
Yeah.
It's going up and up and up and up. It's going. It's ludicrous.
Yeah.
Because the last one is child sacrifice.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. So what if I, what do I come before the Lord with?
Yeah.
Okay, and it goes. He just lists all these things all the way up to child sacrifice, which clearly, child sacrifice was a big issue because it went on all the time.
Yeah.
The Canaanites, that was a regular thing among many of the Canaanite religions, was child sacrifice. It was normal, and so the people of God were warned about that. You can't do that. That's horrendous. And so he says, what do I come before God with? And he comes with all these ludicrous kinds of things. And the point is, none of it would make a dent in the debt. If you did all of that, sacrifice your children, 10,000 rivers of oil, 1,000 rams. If you did all of that, it wouldn't make a dent in the debt that you owe to God. Okay. And then it goes on in verse 8, and here's probably the most famous verse in Micah. He has told you, O man, what is good, and what does the Lord require of you but to do justice, and to love kindness, and to walk humbly with your God. Okay, now this is a very frustrating passage for me, because so many Christians take this passage and turn it into social gospel. What are we supposed to do? Well, we're just supposed to help everybody and give money to the poor and open soup kitchens and collect food and doctrine. That doesn't matter. That's who cares about teaching and doctrine because it says right there, what does the Lord want? Just do justice and love kindness and walk humbly with your God. And if you only know the English, it's hard to make an argument against it because that is what the words say, except that's not what the words say. Okay, I mean, if you know the whole Bible, and you know the Hebrew, there's so much more there than just those words. So first of all, that business of doing justice. What is doing justice in God's eyes? When God talks about doing justice? What is he talking about? Whoops, I just lost my...
people fairly?
More than that.
More than that.
Yeah, more than that. I mean,
Dealing with God.
that's part of it. I mean, doing justice, part of it is obviously, yes, you would treat people fairly. I mean, that's clearly part of it. But when he says... Let me get back to where I was here. I lost my place. When he's talking about doing justice, how does God do justice? How did God do justice?
Do you want the kind God or the just God?
Well, and that's a good question, but there's only one God.
But he's both.
Yeah. But he doesn't, he is not kind in the sense of the way we think of kind so often.
No.
So if a drug addict and an alcoholic and someone who's not working for a living or trying to work for a living stands on the corner and with a cardboard sign asking God for money, would God give him money? No, he wouldn't. He wouldn't. God would never facilitate somebody's sin. That's not how God, so that's, so we think of kindness sometimes, the way we think of kindness is really easy.
Yeah.
Just be nice.
Yeah.
Just be nice, just be nice. That's not justice for God. Justice is eye for an eye, tooth for tooth. That's justice.
Just.
Yeah, that's justice. Yeah, you poke out my eye, I poke out yours. You knock out my tooth, I knock out yours. Eye for an eye, tooth for tooth. That's just. Okay? So when we love justice, that's really hard. Because that is not, it's easy, much easier to be nice than to be just. Much easier. It's hard to be just. It's hard to maintain those love, especially as people who are. It's easier for God to be just because He's perfect.
Right. Mm-hmm.
As people who are imperfect, to level justice. I'm telling you, I can't even remember how many times I've heard when I've told people, what you're doing is sin. Some statement around, well, what do you think? You think you're perfect? Mm-hmm. That's not the point. Or, when you rear your children, you need to have them in church. You just wait till you have children. That's what I heard for the first 7 years of my ministry. Well, and then the kids were too little for sports, so probably the first 10 years of my ministry. Until they were in sports and they saw that my kids in church every Sunday. And because guess what? And what I used to tell people all the time back in those days, I don't think, we'll see if you're right, but I don't think God's going to change the rules because I had children.
In teaching, I got all the time.
Oh, yeah.
You don't have kids.
You don't understand.
No.
No, you don't understand because you don't have children.
I get that from parents.
The rules are the rules. It doesn't matter who has children and who doesn't. I understand, that it is work to keep the rules. I understand that I fail to keep the rules. Doesn't change the rules.
Such as in our society today.
Yeah. Right. The
district attorneys who don't keep the rules.
Right. One of my favorite people in the world, in fact, my newsletter article next month is about her, was my Latin teacher in high school. And she died. And I just found out she died. She died last December. Just recently I found out. I didn't know. And she and I had maintained a relationship for all these years, 39 years. Emailing back and forth and Facebooking back and forth. But she got some kind of weird virus, not COVID. And she developed a secondary infection and she died. But one of my favorite things about her was that she was categorically opposite of me in every single way. And she tenaciously defended her position. And not in a stupid way, but in a very intelligent way. She was Secretary of State in Alabama. She was the president of the NEA for two different terms. She was the head of the Democratic Party, the chairman of the Democratic Party in Alabama 2 different times. Absolutely, she and I were absolutely opposed at every turn. She thought Ronald Reagan was Satan himself, and oh my gosh, she just couldn't. She was very respectful of him as the president, but she did not like any of his policies or any of his, anything. She thought, she did not understand the Lutheran Church. She was a Baptist, and she could not understand how we would, like Lutherans or Catholics, how we could possibly. But I so respected her because she and I were on the same page about the rules. These are the rules. Okay, these are the rules that God gave us, and this is what we are going to endeavor to keep. And she moved that into her classroom, and she moved in she taught for 25 years, and every aspect of her life after that, because after she retired, she went into politics. She pushed now she and I had a different interpretation of how the rules should be kept, but I never doubted that that's what she was trying to do, was to be just. The justice was the key thing. You cannot be just and ignore infractions. That's not justice. you can try to explain infractions. You can try to change what God said. You can do all kinds of different things to try to accommodate an infraction, but you can't just ignore it. And so many Christians just want to ignore anything that is not popular.
Well, that's the law then.
Yeah. Right. Well, and of course, that's what defund the police.
Yeah.
That kind of thing is
Yeah.
all part of that.
Yeah.
We don't like the police because they enforce the law.
Mm-hmm.
Well, now where is it? I was just reading that's is it New Hampshire or Vermont? Vermont, where crime has gone up something like, I don't know, some huge amount because they defunded the police.
Oh, Bernie Sanders state, huh?
Yeah. Yeah,
Surprising.
they defunded the police, and now they've have this huge crime wave going on in a place that hardly ever had crime. Yeah,
And they haven't seen this throughout the United States beforehand? What has
Yeah.
happened?
yeah, yeah, yeah. So,
In other states?
love justice does not mean social justice.
Right, I was just
Yeah.
gonna say
Yeah.
that, yes.
Does not mean that we should feel guilty because there are poor people. It does not mean that we should feel guilty because we didn't hand $10 to that guy begging on the street.
I don't.
That's not justice. Okay, it's not justice. We should feel guilty if we are doing nothing to try to address the ills of the world. As Christians, we should always be working to try to address the ills of the world. Primarily, one of the two most important places we can do that is in our church and in the voting booth. Okay, to vote for people who will politically address the ills, and then at church to spiritually address the ills. That's how we can do it best as individuals. And then he says, what does Lord require? To love kindness. It's a very interesting word, to love kindness.
That's a big topic in schools these days, teaching kindness.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Huh.
Yes. And there's a kindness day out there too.
Oh, yeah.
Every day has its little
Mm-hmm.
thingamabob, whatever, and there's a kindness day.
And how do they,
I
whoever
don't
they
know
is?
how they do it.
Oh, okay, you don't know how they
No.
encourage you to do it.
No, but in our association, we have a new project going on. It's called Help Move Minds.
Mhm.
And before we had Jump Over Heart to raise money.
Oh, yeah.
That was a big thing, but now it's Help Move Minds. And I know kindness is involved in that whole structure.
Well, so here's the interesting thing. Kindness in Hebrew is not, sharing your sandwich with your neighbor. Kindness is not being polite. I mean, it's not doing that, but that's not the
The real meaning.
the Hebrew word is chesed, okay, and chesed translates almost the same as agape in Greek.
Oh.
Okay, it's that full kind of loving kindness, that sacrificial love of God. So when he says loving kindness, you're not showing kindness by ignoring people and letting them do whatever they want. Well, doesn't affect me.
Yeah.
Whatever. That's not loving kindness. Loving kindness is inserting yourself in their lives, building a relationship with them, and trying to help them overcome whatever it is that they're struggling with, whether or not they think they need to. See, and that's the hard part, is because they might look at you and say, "I don't want any help."
Yeah, right. Not on my life. Yeah.
The Hesed is, agape is Jesus coming into Jerusalem and facing crucifixion. I mean, the night in the Garden of Gethsemane, it was like, if there's another way to do this, Dad, let's do it. if we have a plan B, now would be a good time to talk about that. No, there was no plan B. This is what you have to do. You have to go in and face these people who are going to kill you. Okay? And that's just the way it is. And that's the only way it's going to happen. Okay? And we face the same reality, is that there are people who do not want our help. and we have to continue trying to help them in whatever way we can. At no point are we allowed to just to write people off and say, well, too bad for you. You don't want any help? That's fine. That doesn't mean we have to, set ourselves up for abuse. That doesn't mean that you put yourself in a dangerous situation, because you also, the stewardship of your own person is important. The stewardship of us, of our financial wealth. Like, for instance, parents who put themselves in the poorhouse by throwing money at their children are really not. They're not really helping anybody. Yeah. The old give a man a fish or teach a man to fish. What's better? Throwing money at the situation isn't always the best way to handle it. In fact, it's rarely the best way to handle it. The way to handle it is to get involved, and to help that person understand what they need to do. So that's loving kindness. Is that's what, and then walk humbly is the last one. Walk humbly, and that's such an important concept, because it's not humble in, oh, I'm nothing, just thanks anyway. But humble is the understanding that whatever you do, you're just the conduit. Okay, the Lord is working through you. You should be honored and thrilled that you are the conduit of the Lord. You should be thrilled at that, and not at all bashful about saying it. But always remember, the power is not in you. Okay, the power is in God, working through you.
In other words, don't be showy.
Yeah, well, yeah, but
I mean,
sometimes it's an issue of being showy. And sometimes even the most humble people in the world, or humble-looking people in the world, can think that they're doing it. I've known people who mouth humility, but soon as things don't go their way at church, what do? Checkbook freezes up. Mm-hmm. I'm not giving them any more money to the church if they're not going to do what I tell them to do. I've literally heard those words out of people's mouths. Mm-hmm. Is that, well, if they want any money out of me, they better rethink this. Or people who they didn't call the pastor I wanted to call, so I'm leaving. Yeah. I mean, it happens all the time. And people who they'll mouth humility, mm-hmm. but real humility says, no, I'm here to serve. And if the congregation goes a different direction, as long as it's not theologically wrong, then I go along with the congregation and I assume God's working. Real humility says, when people leave this congregation to go someplace else, that's God moving his people around. It's not a matter of, oh, what did I do? Why do you think it's all about you? I ask that of pastors many times. Do you really think that you're the center of the world?
I'm sure some of them do.
People leave. Sometimes it's because God needs them elsewhere. Sometimes they need to learn a lesson. Sometimes that congregation needs them. Who knows what it, and I would say 99% of the time, you're not going to know what it is. Or a congregation that absolutely acts as though God has betrayed them because they got a pastor they didn't like. Has it ever occurred to you that maybe it's not about you? Maybe you were there to serve the pastor. Maybe he needed you. Maybe whatever it is you have, God was going to work through that to help him. Maybe it's not about you, which I say to people a lot of times in my capacity as the vice president, is that I say that frequently. Maybe it's not about you. Maybe you should take you out of it and think about what's God doing here and how can I serve that plan. It's really hard to do, especially when it's our congregation, because we get so caught up in it being ours. And you notice that I say frequently around here, remind people, this is your church, God, not ours. Right. We just work here. It's your church, not ours. Whatever you do, We are thrilled that you're doing it through us, but we recognize that we're conduits. You know, the Santa breakfast, we're conduits to the community. I was thrilled that we had people here that either we had people who were non-frequent flyers and we had people who were guests, you know, who don't come here, and that's just wonderful. It's a wonderful opportunity to have people in the building, you know, because you know the like I always remind people, some of the church growth literature back in the 80s, you know, is very annoying about what you should do and what you shouldn't do to be growing as a church. But one of the things that really was true and made a lot of sense is when the day comes that somebody says, I need to go to church, 9 times out of 10, they will go to a church where they know where the bathrooms are. You know, in other words, if they're familiar with the building. Yeah. 9 times out of 10, that's how they will choose. The other thing is they will choose a church on their route between home and work.
Oh, I believe that.
That's a church that they see. So it pays to have your church be visible as a church, you know, to look like a church. Because when the day comes that somebody says, I need to go to church, they'll go to one that is between their home and work, and they'll go to one where they have some familiarity with the building, which is why we do voting. We don't have voting here because we're super patriotic about it.
No.
There's plenty of places to do voting. Yeah, they don't pay us. Yeah. We do it because we love having the community in the building. Opening up on 4th of July. We do it to get community in the building because people will, when the day comes that they need a church, that's very often where they'll go, is where they have some recognition. Right. Familiarity with the building. Yep. So we're just conduits, but we can be smart conduits. You know, we don't have to be stupid conduits. And you know, you don't have to sit off, you know, by yourself with the doors and the windows all locked and the shutters pulled and said, well, no one ever comes to this church. Right. Would you?
Can't get in.
Yeah. Yeah, the doors are locked. That was we did that actually one Sunday. Can't remember what happened, but we forgot to open the doors. We forgot to unlock the doors.
Oh, really?
That's how I hear.
The bottom glass door wasn't open
Yeah,
either?
yeah. Whoever usually opens it didn't open it, and I'm standing in the the ushers must have been out or something, and I'm sorry, I hear this. What is that? People out there pounding on the door to get in. Oh, guess we should.
They pounded on the door to get in.
Guess we should probably unlock the door.
Go
Huh?
home.
Yeah.
Verse 9: the voice of the Lord cries to the city, and it is sound wisdom to fear your name. Hear of the rod and of him who appointed it. The rod, this is a word of advice from Micah to pay attention because the rod's about to fall. So yeah, pay attention. 10 through 12. Can I forget any longer the treasures of the wickedness in the house of the wicked and the scant measure that is accursed? Shall I acquit the man with wicked scales and a bag of deceitful weights? Your rich men are full of violence, your inhabitants speak lies, and their tongue is deceitful in their mouth. Treasures gained by doing wrong will come back to haunt you. That's what it says. Scant measure means cheating people because they're dumb or gullible, and that doesn't make it okay. You know, I tell this to people all the time that if the stupid cashier at McDonald's gives you too much change, you give it back. It is not yours. That is stealing. Okay? And people who take advantage of dumb or gullible people, it'll come back on you. God promises it right here. Can I forget any longer the treasures of wickedness in the house of the wicked and the scant measure that is accursed? And then the wicked scales. Apparently in these days, this is just a historical note, the rich merchants used to carry their own weights.
And put them on the scales too.
Well, their weights were fake.
Yeah.
Yeah. So instead of it being a 1 pound weight, it'd be like 3/4 of a pound.
Yeah.
And so they would not have to pay so much for their,
Cheat the people.
or vice versa, if they wanted it to go the other way. If they were selling,
Sure.
yeah, they would do that.
Cheat
That
the
was
people.
yeah, cheat everybody. Yeah. Okay, now here's what you get for that. Verses 13 through 16. Therefore I strike you with a grievous blow, making you desolate because of your sins. You shall eat, but not be satisfied, and there shall be hunger within you. You shall put away, but not preserve. And what you preserve I will give to the sword. You shall sow, but not reap. You shall tread olives, but not anoint yourself with oil. You shall tread grapes, but not drink wine. For you have kept the statutes of Omri. It's one of the gods, the Canaanite gods, and all the works of the house of. Oh, I'm sorry. No, Omri is one of the kings, and all the works of the house of Ahab. That's another king. And you have walked in their counsels, that I may make you a desolation, and your inhabitants a hissing. So you shall bear the scorn of my people. This is called a futility curse. It's the richer you get, the emptier you will be. Now, that's the point of it. And how much of that do we see today? In serial marriages, people who get married after one, after another, they never, and I used to think it's because, well, they never addressed the problems in the last marriage. So, it's not just that. It's even more shallow than that. It's just that they treat marriage like dating. You get married, you stay married for a while. As soon as things don't go right, you divorce and move on to the next one. Because they're always trying to fill up on something that they can't have. You see the serial marriage. You see the billionaires who are getting convicted for tax fraud.
Minnie Madoff.
Yeah.
Jesse Waters calls him Minnie Madoff. The Jewish guy.
Yeah.
The Bankman-Fried guy.
When you have $1 billion.
The Bahamas denied bail for him.
Oh, did they?
Yeah.
Oh, good. When you have $1 billion, why do you cheat on your taxes?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Why on
I don't
earth?
get that at all.
I understand if you make $20,000 a year.
How can they cheat on? Because they don't do them themselves.
Well, they are still responsible for having it done.
I know, that's weird. What?
I mean, you're responsible for your taxes regardless of who does them.
Right.
So, if you don't, you better darn well know what your tax person is doing, because you're still responsible. I have a friend who was a pastor who owed $14,000 to the IRS because his accountant screwed up, and and he didn't have $14,000. It was a long hassle to get it all paid off and whatever, and he at first he was like, well, it's not my fault. I understand it wasn't your fault in the sense that you didn't do it, but when you signed that form, you're still responsible for the money. Doesn't matter who did it. They didn't charge him with anything, but he had to pay the taxes. Yeah. But if you're like I said, if you're making $25,000 a year, I understand why you'd be tempted to cheat on your taxes. Okay, to the extent that you can't. I mean, would need to. You probably don't pay anything anyway.
Pay that much in the first
Well,
place.
you make $1 billion. Why on earth would you cheat on anything? And it just this is what we see in our world for today.
It's not today only, apparently.
Yeah, the world. Yeah, that's what we see. This is God's primary curse. If you're dealing with feelings of futility in your life, examine your faith. Okay, that's what I tell people all the time. If you're dealing with feelings of futility and failure, examine your faith. And that's where you're going to find the problem every time. Every single time. When you have feelings of futility and failure, examine your faith. Because you may be suffering from a futility curse. Because God will just stand back and say, he'll watch you fall and say, boy, that looks like that was painful. You need some help there? Nope, I'm fine. Thank you very much. Do it on my own. All right. Watch you fall on your face again. Whew, that really looks like that hurt. You want some help with that? No, I'm just fine, God. Leave me alone. And he will. Yeah, he will. He will stand back and let you fall over and over and over again until you finally look at him and say, okay, I need help. Oh, good. Yeah, here I am. And he's there to help you. But not if you're going to do it your way. There's God's way and there's the wrong way. And he's not going to put up with anything else. There's no in between. Micah 7. Woe is me, for I have become as when the summer fruit has been gathered, as when the grapes have been gleaned. There's no cluster to eat, no first ripe fig that my soul desires. The godly has perished from the earth, and there is no one upright among mankind. They all lie in wait for blood. and each hunts the other with a net. Their hands are on what is evil, to do it well. The prince and the judge ask for a bribe, and a great man utters evil desires of his soul. Thus they weave it together. The best of them is like a briar, the most upright of them a thorn hedge. The day of your watchman of your punishment has come. Now their confusion is at hand. Put no trust in a neighbor. Have no confidence in a friend. Guard the doors of your mouth for her who lies in your arms. For the son treats the father with contempt. The daughter rises up against her mother. The daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law. A man's enemies are the men of his own house. Okay? So the nation's like a harvested field.
Yeah.
You're gonna it's boy, how empty and barren is our world. You know.
Yeah, I really notice it today.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
In today's times.
Yeah,
So,
and
more so than when I was younger.
we really enjoyed a anomaly
Yeah.
in this nation, and it's really hard for Christians today
Yeah.
because we have to realize that what we enjoyed was just a brief
Yeah.
time.
Right.
Talk to your great grandparents, and it was a different world. You know, it was a different world. We enjoyed a very brief anomaly that was a nice respite.
My brother and I talk about it, and just that recent
Mm-hmm.
about. We say we've lived in the best of times.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right.
Before, not now.
Yep. In verse 2, he talks about the godly has perished from the earth, and there is no one upright among mankind. They all lie in wait for blood, and each hunts the other with a net. He's comparing human beings to animals. Because as much as people who love their animals like to think their animals have a soul,
Yeah.
sorry, the difference between human beings and animals is that they don't have souls and we do.
Right.
Okay? It doesn't mean they don't have personalities.
Right.
It means they don't have souls.
Yeah.
And so once you take the soul out, all you got a dead soul. It's just an animal. And when we're shocked at somebody who does horrible things, well, if their soul is dead, you know, if they have no faith, and they've got a dried up, destitute soul, well, why should we be surprised that they don't act like animals? So many people act like animals today. They run around and they have sex like animals, and they live like animals, and they eat like animals, and they kill each other like animals. Well, yeah, you know, the difference is the soul. When the
Souls too, they act like animals.
yeah, when the faith is strong.
No, really, they have tails on the back, and they have litter boxes in the.
Oh, you mean the furries?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we have furries. Yeah, yeah. We had a furry.
You didn't hear about
Oh, you don't know about this?
No.
Oh, yeah. In some places, I don't know if Illinois is true, but they.
Yeah, it was in Villa Park schools.
Oh, okay. They have to be allowed to wear their furry. They identify as animals, as
Oh
you know,
my God.
Yes.
and they have to be allowed to have their litter box
Yes.
Oh.
and their wear their
Tail, or
tails
whatever,
and their ears
or
and
whatever.
Mhm.
Yeah.
yeah. Yep.
I mean, it's wild out there. It's wild.
Yep. Let's see. Eventually, if you don't stand up to evil, and there's no consequence, the whole system is turned upside down, and what's good is evil, and what's evil is good, and that's just the way it works. I like the verse 4 where at their very best they're like a briar, and isn't that what sin is like? Is it catches you? And if you are not able, if you do not have the strength given by God and His Word to pull free from that sin, you're going to be sucked in to the thorny hedge. That's just how sin works. That parable Jesus talks about with the parable of the sower. You know, some seed fell on good soil, but the thorns and the weeds choked it out, and that's because that's how sin is it just chokes you out. And then Micah sounds just like Jesus here. You know, where Jesus says that a son will be against his father, and a woman will be against her mother, and a wife will be against. I mean, he goes through that whole thing in Matthew 10.
I was going to say, is there another passage? I mean, this is a familiar passage.
Yeah, Matthew 10.
Okay.
Jesus almost quotes it.
Yeah.
Yeah, Matthew 10, 35 through 36. He warns us. That's
What's
that
gonna happen?
there's going to be times when there's going to be great division and great distrust, because those who have faith in God will not be liked by those whose faith is weak or dead. That's just the way it is.
Finding that out now too.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
More so now.
hmm
Yeah. Seems like it. Mhm.
But as for me, Micah says in verse 7, I will look to the Lord. I will wait for the God of my salvation. My God will hear me. And then he goes on. The next part is this: the speaker switches to repentant Jerusalem, because this is the last phrase of the book. So this is the good news. Rejoice not over me, O my enemy. When I fall, I shall rise. When I sit in darkness, the Lord will be a light to me. I will bear the indignation of the Lord because I have sinned against him, until he pleads my cause and executes judgment for me. There's Jesus right there. He will bring me out to the light. I shall look upon his vindication. Then my enemy will see, and shame will cover her who said to me, where is the Lord your God? My eyes will look upon her. Now she will be trampled down like the mire of the streets. A day for the building of your walls. In that day the boundary shall be far extended. In that day they will come to you from Assyria and the cities of Egypt, and from Egypt to the river, from the sea to the sea, and from mountain to mountain. But the earth will be desolate because of its inhabitants for the fruit of their deeds. Shepherd your people with your staff, the flock of your inheritance, who dwell alone in a forest in the midst of a garden land. Let them graze in Bashan and Gilead as in the days of old, as in the days when you came out of the land of Egypt. I will show them marvelous things. The nations shall see and be ashamed of all their might. They shall lay their hands on their mouths, their ears shall be deaf. They shall lick the dust like a serpent, like the crawling things of the earth. They shall come trembling out of their strongholds. They shall turn in dread to the Lord our God, and they shall be in fear of you. Who is a God like you, pardoning iniquity and passing over transgression for the remnant of his inheritance? He does not retain his anger forever, because he delights in steadfast love. He will again have compassion on us. He will tread our iniquities underfoot. You will cast all our sins into the depths of the sea. You will show faithfulness to Jacob and steadfast love to Abraham, as you have sworn to our fathers from the days of old. So remember, this is the church, because repentant Jerusalem is the church. We wait for God to act, knowing that we will be forgiven of all of our iniquity and our enemies will be cast down. And this is important because sometimes it's easy to begin to believe that one of Satan's chief lies, which is that we have to make our own way in this world. Yeah, he loves to tell us that lie, is that we have to make our own way. We have to, God's fine. You can lean on that crutch if you want to, but you gotta make your own way. You gotta. I mean, I always go back to my own childhood of growing up. Hearing all my friends and myself being told all the time, you've got to get into a good school, and you've got to get a good job, and you've got to do this, and you've got to do that. And it was always my pastor who was in the background saying, well, no, don't worry about it. God will take care of it. You just lead a godly life. You worry about leading a godly life. That's all you have to do. Stay close to the word, stay in worship. God will take care of everything else. Do your best. Do your best. Don't be stupid. Don't do stupid stuff. And God will open doors for you. That's what I tell kids all the time. When I deal with kids who are so stressed out.
I'm sure.
Oh my gosh.
But,
They live under constant stress of different kinds.
yeah, I was just gonna say, from home, to
From home,
school,
from
to-
sports, from pure amount.
Yeah.
Kids
So
who
much just thrown at them.
they go from school all day, then they have this, then they have that, this lesson, that practice, this, they fall into bed at night.
Yeah.
exhausted, and then they sit in the bed with their phones,
Oh,
Yeah.
I
you know,
Yeah.
and they play with their phones until 2 o'clock in the morning, you know, because some parents just let it go, you know. Some parents are really good about it, but some parents just they'll figure it out. Okay, but they're gonna figure it out exhausted
Yeah.
and stressed, you know, and believing that it's all on them. They have why are you doing this? Well, because you have to. Everybody does this. This is what you do. Well, do you like pick a thing? You know, it doesn't matter. Do you like doing that? No. No. Why do you do it? I don't know. That's everybody does that. They don't even know.
Peer pressure there, huh?
Yeah, they don't even know why they do it.
Yeah.
You know, I distinctly remember, you know, my parents, every time I joined something or did something, we had that discussion of, okay, now, how much time is this going to take? And how are you going to fit this in? And is that a good idea? And, you know, and I mean, I was a pretty active kid, you know, in high school.
I was enjoying them.
Oh no. Well, I mean, I was part of you know, the junior classical league. I was part of junior achievement. I was the youth group at church. Those are the two. And marching band. Those were the big ones. And but every time I wanted to do something, that was the discussion we had. Is that, well, how much time is this going to take? Do you have that kind of time to commit to it? Is that too much? Do we need to think about cutting back someplace else? There was something I wanted to do that I can't remember what it was now. There was something I wanted to do, but I can remember my parents telling me, okay, but you have to give up something else. So do you want to give up band, junior achievement, National Classical League? Which thing do you want to give up? I don't want to give any of that up. Well, then you don't have time.
Yeah.
Because by the time you come home and by the time you do your homework and have dinner and, you know, and then in my world, we were expected to have downtime. You know, sometime like after dinner where you didn't have anything. You know, that was expected. And you weren't allowed to be on the phone with friends the whole time either. Or at their house. Yeah, which some kids. It's amazing to me that kids live at each other's houses now.
Yeah.
You know, they'll be coming home at 10 o'clock at night.
I know.
You know, and this is not healthy.
No.
It's not healthy to live that fast and hard when you're 15, 16
No,
years old.
No.
It's just not. So it's just I feel bad for them. I keep telling kids, life is much more simple than people like to make it.
Yeah.
Stay close to the Word. Stay in worship. Let God open the doors. Pay attention to what God's doing. All right, that's it for Micah, and we will pick up Nahum. Let's see. Let's look at the.
Are we back
Yeah.
for class next week?
Let's look at the schedule here.
Last week, right before
Christmas.
the holiday.
Let me see here.
Yeah.
It's next week's.
Let me get my calendar up. Next week is Christmas week.
Right.
We could have class if you want. What is your preference? I don't mind having class if you want to have class. I don't know if anybody else would be here or anybody else would tune in. I just don't know.
I don't know either.
Yeah, I don't know.
Nobody is chiming in here.
I suppose it doesn't matter to me one way or the other. Someone make a decision.
Definitely the week after we're out.
Yeah.
The 27th, we're definitely out because I'm on vacation that week.
Yeah.
The 3rd, we can have class on the January 3rd. I'm back for that. So the question is just the 20th, next week.
And the 27th.
27th, we're out.
Yeah.
Any preference one way or the other?
No.
Okay, then
You
we'll
can decide.
Yeah, I don't know.
meet.
We're starting
We'll meet.
a new book.
Yeah, we'll get started on Nahum.
Okay.
We might be able to, Nahum's a pretty short one.
Approximately when was Micah again?
When?
Yeah.
The dates on Micah are,
From the book.
Micah is
Right, tells us-
737 to
Yeah.
690.
What is
737 to 690.
Please.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Nahum is a contemporary
Okay.
during the same time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Micah covered a long period of time. I'm trying to remember when his primary prophecies were. This is Amos. Where's Micah? Okay, Northern Kingdom fell in 722. So he 750 to 786 is his primary prophecy times in the kingdom.
722. And when was Micah again?
750 to 786 is what I have here. Micah 7.
No.
Well, now this one says
I was
7.
doing it backwards. I
So,
was-
so it fell after Micah then,
Yeah.
right? But I-
750 to.
I know
Yes. No, well, it fell during Micah.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
he's talking to Israel here.
He's
in
talking.
Micah.
He's talking.
Micah.
Micah is talking to the southern kingdom.
Oh,
Yeah,
Okay.
southern kingdom. Yeah, prophecy to the southern kingdom.
to Judah?
Yeah, that's because they've already seen the northern kingdom fall, and so now he's warning them that this is the same thing's going to come to them. And of course, remember I said that it was a very wealthy time for them, a very successful time, and they were all like, get out of here, you.
Doesn't that sound familiar?
Everything's going great. Are you kidding me? That northern kingdom thing, it'll be all right. Yeah, then the southern kingdom falls in what,
A couple hundred years after.
586, I think it is. Babylon captivity, 586. So the southern kingdom's not going to fall yet for quite some time, about 100 years.
40 years.
Yeah. Yeah. So he's kind of preaching to a deaf audience here. They're not really interested in hearing him. All right, we're going to end the live video. Let's close with prayer.
Any comment?
No comments, no. Lord God, we give you thanks for giving us this time together, and we ask you, Lord, to be present with us as we make our way home. This we ask in your name. Amen. And end live video.